What's going on, golf addicts? David Barnett here of the Tour Junkies. The distinguished gentleman next to me is Mr. Patrick Perry of the Tour Junkies. Pat, you drinking rosé tonight?
Actually, no. I have a
No?
just
Okay.
a little vodka drink in the
Little
cup
vodka
here.
for me as well, just floating
But
around.
but on the other hand, I do have rosé glasses on the shirt.
Ooh,
You
wow.
probably can't see them, but at least there is a presence of rosé on TJ After Dark this week, but not in my hand and in my glass.
Nice. Well, good to see you. This is, of course, Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings. We are here to give you a course preview of this week's PGA Tour event, which is the RBC Heritage from Hilton Head at Harbour Town Golf Links. We're excited about it. Okay, we have just finished recording our own podcast that you can find wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. We've had a number of ounces of said vodka, and we're going to debate. We're going to debate a couple names tonight that we uncovered on the podcast that we disagreed with. And then we're going to give you our DK Sportsbook picks of the week, which, by the way, we nailed Daniel Berger at 70-1 last week, winning the Colonial. So, Pat, let's take a moment right here and just pat ourselves on the back, because the viewers won't do that. They'll just tell us that they hate us and they think we're dumb. So let's just pat ourselves on the back. Pat, tell us about Harbour Town Golf Links, a golf course that you and I are very familiar with, grew up right around the corner from it. You lived there for a minute. I've played there. We've seen this event a bunch of times. Tell us about Harbour Town.
Yeah, well, this is a fantastic course here at Harbour Town Golf Links. It's playing just under 7,100 yards. It is a par 71. We got a little bit of an expanded field this week than we normally have at about 153 players right now. You got Bermuda grass, tee to green, very small greens out here. So very difficult to hit greens. And you know what? Tight tree line fairways. I mean, literally right off the fairways, you're like in the trees. I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference between the fairways, the rough, the trees, that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of experience out here on this course. I mean, you got to know where to hit it off the tee to give yourself the best angle into these greens, which is why strokes gained approach, greens and regulation, that kind of stuff. This is a second shot golf course, just like we saw last week, really, with Colonial for the most part. So you really got to be good with your irons, coming off your tee shot here. So I think that's going to be important as well. I do think experience is somewhat important. Now, we have seen a lot of guys that have won here and it's been their first win on tour, but I still think experience pays off on this course. I think that is something that you want to look at. But just a great classic course. We got a fantastic field this week. It's going to be interesting because we don't really see this type of field at this course because it's usually in April, the week after the Masters, where a lot of guys will take off. Like they'll play the Masters, and then the top guys in the world will just not even play it because, I mean, that's just what they do. So it's going to be a little bit different. And then as far as the weather's concerned, because in April it's a lot cooler, so it's not as hot as we're going to get this week. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it's going to play fairly similar to how it usually does. But it's going to be a little bit different as well. So we'll see. But this is a great course. Cannot wait to get started. Fantastic field. And, so those are my thoughts on the course. I don't know if you got anything you want to add to it, DB, but there you go.
Yeah, it's a classic Pete Dye, man. Just Pete Dye all over it. I did play it last year from the tips. It is. I am far from a professional. I don't have the same visuals that they have. I don't approach a golf course the same way.
Play that from the tips. Yeah,
but I'm just telling you, it is. There's not as much room for error off the tee as we saw last week at Colonial. If you miss too much here, you are lost golf ball. Whereas you miss at Colonial, you're kind of in the rough with maybe some slight tree trouble, but you can find your golf ball. It's just not the same way here. But all that being said, typically this is you got to hit the right part of the fairways. It's all about angles into these approaches. So it's about, being on the proper side of the fairway so that you give yourself the best shot at these very small greens that Pete Dye has designed. This is a purely Bermuda course this time of year. There is no overseed popping through. This is all Bermuda. It is grainy Bermuda. So your guys that grew up in the Southeast playing grainy Bermuda greens, chipping off of grainy Bermuda is tough to do. Those guys are going to be a lot more comfortable here. So I looked at that this week in terms of like long-term Bermuda guys who've seen long-term success. But all in all, the most important thing here is your iron play, is hitting these small greens. You are going to miss them. The greens in regulation numbers on this golf course year after year are sub PGA Tour average. Good iron players are still going to miss greens out here. You got to be able to get up and down. You have to. You have to be able to get up and down here. You have to be able to scramble. You know, there's not as much undulation in these greens as there was last week, but you're going to miss them, and you're going to have to get up and down and make it happen. You could be short-sighted. You're going to have a lot less green to work with. It is a thing in terms of being able to scramble and get up and down here that I found a lot of value in. Ultimately, the biggest defense on this golf course is firm and fast conditions, which I do think we'll see. Wind, which right now, as of recording this, not a lot of wind, but that can change the drop of a hat as it's a
fairly benign.
Yeah. And then it's just all about the grainy Bermuda and hidden greens, and it's a classic course. But we have seen players like Davis Love III who've won here like 5 times, and he was one of the longer hitters on tour in his day. He had a lot of success here. So it's not that the long hitters can't play, but it is similar to Colonial, where if you're not, unless you're BRYSON DeChambeau hitting at 350, it somewhat neuters you, as I said last week. Pat, let's get into this. Speaking of longer players, I think there's one I agree with you. I disagree with you on a little bit, all right? If I'm looking at DraftKings pricing, I see Hideki Matsuyama there, okay? Now, Hideki, this is his first event back since we saw him in the lead on the first round of the Players' Championship back in March. He was playing so well. He was putting well, which you never see Hideki do, at least for that one round, okay? He was cruising. I think he shot like 7 under the first day. We haven't seen him since. He didn't play last week at Colonial. He's coming out here. Now, I gotta say, of all the people priced at $9,000 and above, I actually don't hate any of them. I don't hate any of them. For the first time in a long time, if somebody asked me, DB, can I play this guy? I'd say if you like him, if they pop for you, if you have a good feeling about it, you go with your gut. I don't hate any of them. I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. But what I will say about Hideki, because you mentioned you like him, his worst putting surface is by far Bermuda. And he's a terrible putter overall. Terrible putter overall. Worst putting surface over the long term when you look at it is Bermuda. And my thing is, since we haven't seen him play since March, I think he's either going to be a top 5 with win equity, or he's going to be a T45 or worse. I don't think there's going to be a lot in between, because Hideki's a world-class iron player. But if there's a little bit of rust and those irons are a little bit off, hitting into these very small greens, he's going to miss them. And then he's going to have to get up and down. Up and down involves putting, and he sucks at that. These aren't big greens. But if he hits these greens because they're so small, the likelihood of him 3-putting, very low. But I think it all comes down to rust and how does he feel with the irons once he's in the fairway. Can he pepper these small Pete Dye greens? And I'm not confident. I'm not confident.
See, here's the thing with me for him, and it's and part of it's just strategy, because you can throw stats out there and whatever else, and I can give you some stats on Hideki because he's 3rd in the field in strokes gained approach. He's 7th in ball striking.
Yeah,
he's
all iron play stuff.
Like all the iron play is there. But here's the thing: like, I'm thinking of Hideki from a Millie Maker standpoint, and it is all or nothing in a Millie Maker. Like, that's your strategy there. You aren't trying to play it safe. You're not trying to just kind of get in there and get a few guys that you think are all going to make the cut and whatever else. Like, you got to get some upside, and I think Hideki has that this week. And I think we talked about ownership a lot last week, where it seems like this week we maybe, like on the show, I don't know if we even mentioned ownership as much as we did like last week. It's the same. It's the same this week. You got to get a little bit of ownership leverage. I don't think Hideki's going to be that high owned. Coming in off, off the cuff. Didn't play last week. We got guys that we can look at from some form last week around him. Sung J M, Justin Rose right below him, Colin Morikawa. I mean, those type guys are going to garner probably a little bit more ownership. So I think you're going to get Hideki in a good spot here from a tournament play, and that's what I like about him. That's where I think you can get some pretty good leverage from Hideki, and he can win here. Look, if he has a good
Oh,
putting
yeah, he can
week,
win anywhere. He can win anywhere.
He can win. Yeah, if he putts well, he can win, and that is the reason that I like Hideki. 9,500 is a good price range. You can fit a lot of guys in your lineup that are in that 7 and 8K range if you start with him. So I think Hideki is a great play, and that's why I'm going to go with him. It's really just like tournament, like all or nothing. I want to win a tournament. If I'm going to win a tournament, I think Hideki can do that for me in my lineup. So there you go. So that being said, the other guy that I wanted to talk about with you was BRYSON DeChambeau. Last week, he bombed it all over the place. Just took lines left and right, didn't care about the dog legs and things like that. And I faded him this week because I just don't think you can play the way he did last week at Colonial this week at the Heritage. It's just totally different. There's not lines that you can take where you can bomb at 340 and do that kind of stuff. And you, oddly enough, who can't stand BRYSON DeChambeau, could not get on board with me with the fade. And I got to understand why, because I think you could fade DeChambeau, and I think his ownership, by the way, is going to be a little bit higher this week than it was last week. So I need to know why I can play DeChambeau again this week.
Frankly, I'm scared to death. I'm freaking scared to death. I'm like the guys in the Blair Witch Project. BRYSON. Don't do it, BRYSON. He's in driver at Heritage. He's in driver at Heritage. I mean, I'm scared to death of the guy. In fact, I wrote down in my notes, not under the fade section at 9K and above on DraftKings. I wrote down, where is it? I wrote down not BRYSON. I'm fading not BRYSON. That's what I'm not. That's what I'm fading. I'm fading not BRYSON. In the 9K and above range on DraftKings, again, I just said this. I literally don't like hate or like strongly feel like you should fade any of them if you like them. So I don't know what to do with the guy, man. Like, he scares the crap out of me. I don't like him, but to see what he did last week was pretty remarkable. I do agree that I think Harbour Town neuters his distance a touch more than it did at Colonial, because you have to really think about, if I blow this thing right or left, I am dead. I'm not looking for my ball.
And there's more out of bounds in play.
There's not some 75-year-old volunteer in knee-high white socks putting a little white flag in the tall grass, 30 yards right of the fairway. You don't have that at Harbour Town. You just don't. You don't have a lot of that. He
was actually fairly accurate.
He was pretty accurate. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not taking. I'm scared of him. He terrifies me. I'm going to play him or I'm not going to play him. And if you're asking me, do I want to fade BRYSON? I say, I run away. I can't. I'm done. Like, for right now, I'm done.
Okay. I'm fine. I can respect all that.
Hey, tell me why you're going to play. I mean, I get this. One more name here. DJ. Okay, I get this. DJ has played here a couple times, but dang. Like, all I got to say is, and the price is incredible. I get the price. I get the name value, the win equity. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it for you. And if it is, that's great. I look at what he did last week, and he didn't just do one thing bad. He did everything bad except for hit the ball off the tee. He was negative strokes gained with his iron play on approach. He was negative strokes gained scrambling around the green. He was negative strokes gained putting. He was just negative everywhere except off the tee. It looked like a lot of rust. He looked like he had a lot of rust when it came to and I know this is an exhibition, but when we saw him at the TaylorMade driving relief thing, he looked rusty. When we saw him before the season ended, me and you were talking about something's off with DJ. Okay? So something's been off with DJ all year. Something was off with DJ in the little exhibition match. Something was off with DJ last week at Colonial, but now you want to play him. What changed?
Well, here's the thing. The price is one reason. It's a little bit too hard to pass up. But, as far as ownership last week, he was around 11% owned in GPPs, which for a guy like DJ is pretty low. I think you're going to get it even lower this week. Bermuda is a better surface for him than Bermuda grass. The than bent grass, where we were on last week, where he doesn't putt quite as well on. And so I think that, he's a guy that he's played well here before. Last 2 years, he's finished in the top 25. I think that he's got the experience on this course to really get around here and score. And so I just feel like it's a good spot here. And then you talk about like a recency bias and like, coming off the miscut and whatever else. Like he didn't play great last week. Fine. But he's still DJ. And he's still one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, but it was like everything except for one thing was bad. It wasn't like, okay, one thing was bad and everything else was good. It was like everything was bad and the one thing was good. And you combine that with the fact that he looked bad before the season broke. So it's like we really haven't seen DJ play all that great, like, in a while.
I agree with you there. But I still think you can gain some good leverage on the field by playing him this week, and I'm gonna play him. I think he is this is a course where, and look, he doesn't have to hit driver off the tee all the time. He knows the course well. Out of all the top guys, he probably knows it the best. Literally, if you look at the top guys that are in this field, like the Rorys, JT, Bryson. Well, Bryson's played it just as much as DJ has, but Rahm. All of these guys have not played this course as much as DJ has. And this is his area. He's a South Carolina guy, played at Coastal Carolina. Like, I think that he can come out and be comfortable here and just relax in Hilton Head and have a good round and just have fun. So I'm all about some DJ this week. I will play him. He's probably going to be contrarian, and another good reason to play him.
Yeah. I mean, a contrarian, low-priced DJ, okay. I just wouldn't have too high expectations.
You got Brooks right next to him too, which is interesting as well. That could make the show even longer. But I mean, Brooks like right there.
Okay, I mean, well, Brooks played better than DJ yesterday or last week. I mean, he played better. So anyway,
he did.
I'll say this. Let's get to DK Sportsbook. I have 6 outright bets and 2 top 10 bets that I want to highlight. I'm going to start out the outright betting ticket at 30-1 with Mr. Patrick Reed, who played pretty good and under the radar at Colonial last week and could have won had not kind of stalled out on the weekend. But he's at 30-1. Brooks Koepka, second one on my list at 45-1. Getting Brooks here at 45-1. I know he hadn't played here, but the up and down ability, the putting ability could get hot at any moment. I feel like last week was let's shake the rust off for Brooks. Like, Brooks has never been a first week back kind of guy anyway. He doesn't like to play. I mean, he's very vocal about, like, I don't love to practice. He doesn't even love to play. Like, so I doubt in this 90-day quarantine he's been doing a whole lot. I feel like last week was all about shaking the rust off, and now you get him on week 2. I like the win equity at 45-1. Then I'm going to go to a guy that we know and love, Kevin Kisner, at 55-1 here. Great scrambler, great player on Bermuda, extremely familiar with highly grainy Bermuda like we're going to have here at Harbor Town. Said he was playing good, feeling good. Game was in a good spot this past week. Played well at Colonial. Love him at 55-1. I'm going to go with JT Poston at 70-1. Another guy from Sea Island, extremely comfortable down here in grainy southeast Bermudaville. Playing well, finished great last week, this past weekend. And then I'm going with Joel Damon at 90-1. Joel's just on fire, man. And we know that Joel plays better in his second or third week anyway. And he played great last week after a long break. Like, Joel is ready to win on the PGA Tour, and I think he can win on this field at 90-1. It's a great number. Finally, I have 2 top 10 bets that I like that are longer odds for top 10s, both at 33-1. And it's Doc Redman and Carlos Ortiz, both players that have competed in big field events and have the chutzpah, you know what I mean? I think that's how they say it, the chutzpah, to play in a field like this and finish top 10. And 33-1 for a top 10 number is very appealing for both Carlos Ortiz and Doc Redman. Doc Redman, who played last week, played pretty good for a young kid at big odds. So there you go. That's my betting card.
Oh, okay. I like it. All right. So I'll throw out a few names here for me. As far as outrights, we talked about Hideki. I'm a big fan of his at 40-1. I like that. I like Patrick Reed at 30-1. I think that's a good play. I like Abraham ANCER at 70-1. We saw him play well last week. I think it's another good number for him.
Endorse that one.
A kind of a sneaky play, by the way, a guy that I wasn't on last week and didn't really like, but that's Viktor Hovland. It's 70-1. He ended up playing pretty solid last week at Colonial. And another guy that, was coming in hot this season, I think 70-1 is a good number for him. And a long shot number, Alex Noren at 200-1. Another guy that I talked about last week that finished okay. And you know what? He was T28 last year here at the Heritage. So I like some Alexander Noren at 200-1. Now, I've noticed some first-round leader bets have been added into DK Sportsbook.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I could they may have been there for a while, but I just noticed them for the first time today. And I got a few of those here at first-round leader. So Adam Hadwin at 90-1. I think that's a pretty good number for him. I like Chesson Hadley at 100-1. He finished strong last week at the Colonial, so I think that could be a pretty good long shot bet. And then Patrick Rogers also at 100-1. I think could be a good play for first-round leader bets.
Yeah.
Just guys that come out high. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen. Look, Chesson went low. By the way, he had the low round of the day. I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, on a course that's very similar. So found something. So who's to say you can't do that again? So I like those plays as first-round leader bets. There you go.
All depends on the tee times there, too.
I'm not interested in an argument right now. Yeah.
I want to say one thing about Viktor Hovland. We didn't even talk about this on our own show, but this is interesting you bring him up. Viktor Hovland has 19 documented PGA Tour events where strokes gain data has been collected. Of those 19 events, 3 of them trace, which is Spanish for 3. He's been in the positive for strokes gained around the green. 3 of the 19, he's been in the positive. All the others, negative. He is on record as saying, quote, "I suck at chipping." He said that just before the break. Word on the street is he went to a famous short game instructor, Mr. Pete Cowan, and has been working with Pete Cowan on his chipping approach. Last week at the Charles Schwab was one of those 3 times that he has been in the positive in strokes gained around the green. If Viktor Hovland finds a little something with his wedge play around the green when he does miss greens, which is rare because he's so good with his irons, he doesn't miss a lot of greens.
He's very good, yeah.
But if he finds a little magic with the wedge around the greens, watch out because he could be a real contender a lot of weeks. He's very accurate off the tee, very accurate with his irons. But when he misses, man, he cannot get up and down. But that looks like it could be changing if the work with Pete Cowan is paying off. So there you go, a little tidbit there. Thanks for checking out Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings. We hope you like the video. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment. Ask us a question. Whatever it is you want to do. Just be nice. Don't be a tool. If you're a tool, just why are you watching? All right. Thanks. May your screens be green. See ya. Out.